Parts 5 through 8 of this series focus on the concept of resilience, and if you recall, resilience is our ability to bounce back from life's little setbacks. Forgiveness is the act of letting go, or as I like to define it, accepting the fact that the past can't be changed. So we can easily see how forgiveness and resilience are concepts that go together hand in hand. We are now going to use the courage that we developed in the activity from part 5 to step up and take accountability for our actions. When most of us hear the word forgiveness, we immediately think of the process of granting forgiveness. But there's a really big difference between granting and seeking forgiveness. In fact, the chasm between them might as well be the Grand Canyon. They're so different. Though they share the same terminology, they employ totally different interpersonal skill sets. Granting forgiveness requires us to let go of some pain that somebody else has caused us. Sometimes there may not even be a somebody else, and we may need to forgive ourselves, which may even be the hardest task of all. But seeking forgiveness, on the other hand, requires a series of 3 steps. And it's a whole hell of a lot harder. First, we have to step up and actually initiate the conversation. And that's where our newfound courage comes into play. Sure, the easy way out would be to just let things slide and hope that time eventually works everything out. Other times, we might hold on to stubborn pride and think it's the other person's responsibility to step up first. Of course, the other person may be thinking exactly the same thing, in which case, neither one steps up and the conflict just goes on indefinitely. Somebody has to be a leader and get the ball rolling. Second, we have to take accountability, and we have to do this without a but.
I'm sorry I snapped at you, but why did you have to be such a...
We need to take accountability for our role in the conflict and then stop there. This gives the other person a chance to own up to their portion, but it's really hard for us to avoid that but. Also, we often confuse forgiveness with sorry. So let's make something painfully clear. Sorry is merely admitting that we got caught.
I spilled lipstick in your Valentino bag.
Oh, you spilled lipstick in my Valentino.
Way too often we stop there and fail to move on to step number 3, which is actually the most important part. Seeking forgiveness takes sorry to a much more mature and responsible level. Instead of simply stopping at, yeah, I did it, we make ourselves vulnerable by requesting the other person to forgive us, thereby giving that other person a temporary power over us and the ability to say no. But if they say yes, that effectively releases us both from the conflict that occurred, allowing us to move on and no longer allow that pain to come between us. But making that request comes with a whole hell of a lot of anxiety. What if the other person says no? We have to be prepared for that response and seek forgiveness anyway, because it's the right thing to do. When we take that first step and openly ask for redemption, then we give the other person permission to follow our lead and do the same. Seeking forgiveness ultimately requires us to set aside pride for the sake of restoring a relationship. All too often, pride makes us feel like we have something to prove, like we're the superior one in the conflict, or like it's our responsibility to teach the other person some sort of lesson. But what lesson could be more important than showing the other person that we care enough about the relationship to be the first person to step up, even when we didn't cause it? I like cats. Listen to my boy De Niro talk about cats.
Cats make you work for their affection. They don't sell out the way dogs do.
With my cat, I have to work for her affection. And if I make a mistake, she'll let me know about it. She'll remind me for weeks, months, or even years. You know how they always say people are a lot like their pets? Well, I guess that's me. When someone does wrong by me, I have a tendency to ruminate over it, to think about it and analyze it over and over and over again. I might even think about ways that I can get even with the person. Generally speaking, I have a tendency to think about vengeance much more than redemption. Then there's dogs. My wife's dog can get in all sorts of trouble. We can yell at her, she'll look ashamed, and then 5 seconds later, she's apologizing to us. She doesn't ruminate. She doesn't ponder her revenge. She doesn't glare at me when I walk into the room. And she certainly doesn't remind me constantly of how I yelled at her. She lets it go fully and completely and then seeks redemption. The crazy thing about this is just how disarming her act of letting go really is on me. When she lets things go and tries to make things right with a slobbery kiss, even though I absolutely hate that, her authentic gesture softens my anger and makes me forget about all of my irritation. So what's stopping us from being more like dogs? As I'm sure you've guessed by now, the Forgive Like Fido challenge is to think of some way that maybe you've hurt somebody. The level of that hurt is up to you. Maybe you ate the last pepperoni Hot Pocket that you knew your roommate was looking forward to last night. Maybe you left the seat up for the umpteenth time, or you forgot to put away the dishes. Or maybe you've got something bigger brewing. Maybe there's a person you haven't talked to in years and you're really starting to miss that person and wish there was a way to make things right. Maybe you have a whole big pile of regrets that needs to be swept up and dealt with at long last. The choice is yours. Maybe start with a toe in the water, or go straight for the belly flop if it suits you. Either way, it's time that we emulate our dogs, who forgive so quickly that it makes us wonder what the hell we did to deserve such love and loyalty. You know the routine. Like this video if you like where we're headed, subscribe for more content, and I'll see you next time.